Hello, and welcome to my bourbon channel. Please click below to like and subscribe so you don't miss a moment of bourbon content. Please click below to join my Patreon so you can get even more bourbon content. Please click below to go to my webpage where you can buy bourbon content merch like bourbon content t-shirts, bourbon content coffee cups, bourbon content baseball caps, bourbon syringes full of 10 times the maximum human amount allowable of bourbon content that you can jam directly into your eye. Fuck. All right. Sorry. Okay. All right, I will stop. So, got to start cleaning out my my sample backlog, and so I thought we'd do a bourbon day, and nothing weird today. We're doing big old Kentucky producers. We're doing Forester and Heaven Hill. So I got Old Forester 1910, 1920 versus barrel proof Larceny and barrel proof Elijah Craig. Now, two of these I've had before. Two of them I have never had in my life. The barrel proof Elijah Craig, I bought one of the early ones. The ones that came out right after it stopped being in distillery exclusive, and I was not really a fan. The one I bought was a little bit hard to take, a little bit much on the wood. And I've also tried the Forester 1920, which I enjoyed very much. I tried it in a bar, Delilah's, I think, in the pre-lockdown times. So I'm happy to return to it now. I have never tried the 1910, and I have never tried the Larceny barrel proof. I didn't even know that Larceny had a barrel proof until someone awared me of it down in the comments. All right, enough of my blabbering. Let's get pouring. Forester 1910, 93 proof. We're just going to go up in order of proof, but that also effectively means we're going from Forester to Heaven Hill. So I'm going to go through these neat, give you some first impressions. I don't have any notes today because I'm in a little bit of a hurry. No prep done. And after our first go through, I'm going to add some water. And we will try these again with water. Need a little more of our Elijah Craig there. Okay, let's get going. Old Forester 1910, bottled at 93 proof. Now, no age statement on this, but what they do note on the Forester site, so they do an entire series of year-themed bottles. Now, if you were making a brandy, an Armagnac, say, you would be sued or fined by the government for putting a year like 1910 or 1920 on the bottle and not having that actually be a vintage. But, you know, in bourbon, I guess we assume that no one actually has stocks that old anymore. They've long since sold them off. So I guess they can get away with it. Anyways, year-themed. The 1910 is interesting because it's double-barreled. So basically, they pulled it out of the first barrel and threw it into a fresh barrel as a finish. So if you are of the crowd that believes that more oak always amounts to more better than, this is probably gonna be great. I've never tried it before, but I do like Foresters. The mash bill on this, I wrote it down. Let me check, and I clicked away from it. 72%, both these Foresters, 72% corn, 18% rye, and 10% malted barley. So kind of moderate rye style bourbon. So on the nose, I'm getting a lot of wood, a hell of a lot of graininess. There's some like burned oatmeal notes on this. The wood just, I mean, it just smells like you took a bunch of cooperage dust, like cooperage sawdust, and you just burned the hell out of it. Like barrel ash, that's kind of what it smells like. And then, banana, really banana peel, which is kind of the dead giveaway of Forester if you're ever doing a blind. I did a blind of a single barrel Forester a little while ago, and it wasn't as banana-y as this. It took a while for it to show up, but I kind of nailed it the second it did, that there had to be some Forester in there, because nothing else really does the banana thing as hard as this. I mean, you could say maybe some other Brown-Forman stuff does. Jack Daniels can sometimes throw banana, but this is really, yeah, banana peel, fried plantain. A lot of black pepper on this, a lot of just of barrel elements. Dried cherry. Yeah, the burned oatmeal thing is coming out hard. Black bread, which is a Baltic thing, a Lithuanian thing. Very, very hardcore dark rye sourdough bread. That if you get the really serious ones, they will last through an entire winter, and you cannot cut those things with a lightsaber. They're great. And that's kind of a lot that's how the rye is manifesting on this. It's that really heavy rye sourdough element. And that's most of what's going on. There's a little twinge of like a floral thing, almost like you threw 3 wildflowers into this. And maybe a hint of like, not quite an orange peel, more like a tangerine peel thing going on. But it's really the oatmeal and the oaky elements and the banana that's ruling the day here. On the palate, drinks quite nippy, quite hot, which is a Forester thing. It's only 93 proof. This actually is feels more hot on the palate than that. Actually, a little bit on the nose too. So that's the first thing of note. I'm getting the palate kind of follows from the nose. I'm getting like cream of wheat, oatmeal, but like all kind of burned, and like you threw it in the pan and you forgot about it, and it was in there for like 2 hours, just like burning the insides of your pan. That kind of oatmeal, and that kind of cream of wheat. Yeah, that definite banana peel thing. Some honey, wildflower honey. The tangerine peel is back. Lots of black pepper. The sourdough rye, the black bread thing, that's back. That floral thing on the nose is actually stronger on the palate. There's lots of kind of floral hints showing up here. Dried cherry. Cinnamon Toast Crunch. So it has a, how do I put this? It drinks quite hot, but it's also lighter than you would have expected from something that would, went into charred oak barrels. So it's ashy, it's peppery on the finish, but it doesn't hold as long as you would think. There's a fragility to this. It kind of goes away quickly and doesn't. There's holes in the way it develops. Let me give this one more shot. I'll add some water to it and we'll come back. There's a lot of oak. I mean, it's tricky. There's a lot of oak on this, but it doesn't feel like it's gone all the way through, if that makes sense. It's very. I wouldn't be surprised if this was actually a little bit young. You know, it's not young. This didn't just come off the still, and then spend a year in quarter cask. But I would be surprised if this was like super old. The oak feels very almost surface. You can kind of it doesn't hold very much. So I mean, it's nice. It's good. I don't remember the price point. Isn't the price point on this like 50 or something like that? For what you're getting, it's maybe a little high for me, but nice enough. So I'm gonna write a first kind of score impression, give this a squirt of water, and we'll come back to it. Not too much. Bourbons don't take water as well as some other spirits do. Let's see if that's enough. That'll do. Okay, on to the 1920, which between the ones I've had, I mean, the Larceny is really a mystery. I'm guessing that the 1920 might take this one. 1920, the Larceny is a dark horse for me. I really liked some of the older, like very old Fitzgeralds out there, very old Fitzgerald, back when you could still get it. So this may be a problem. And the Elijah Craig, I don't know. I didn't like it in the past, but it might come around. But this is the one I'm expecting to be really, really fun. Okay, a little more expressive on the nose, brighter. There is a kind of darker thing in the 1910 that it just feels heavier. This is not, it feels less oaky, not necessarily less old, but less oaky. Oh yeah, so what should I say? Old Forester 1920. This is bottled at 115 proof, 57.5% alcohol. So we're getting a lot of orange candy, toasted corn, the banana peel is definitely there again. As much as I hate to say it, brown sugar. There's some brown sugar there. Mixed honeys, wildflower honey, but also some clover honey. Along with the orange candy, like orange slice candy, there is some orange zest coming through. Cream of wheat, not so much not so burned this time. It's a little, you made it thick. You left it in the pan for a little longer than recommended by the box, but it's not burned. And then, vanilla, a little bit of kirsch, a little bit of like eau de vie of cherry, some black pepper, and it smells, and it's not really black bread this time. It's just good old-fashioned, like a fresh loaf of your standard down the street, rye bread with a little bit of caraway seed in there. And that floral thing, I should have mentioned, is there? It's actually a little bit more prominent than on the 1910. Yet there's a lot of flowers in this, which I never noticed in Forester before. Has that always been there, and I'm just now picking it up? Yeah, a bunch of wildflowers. Throw that in there. Interesting. On the palate with this 1920. So like the 1910, drinks hotter, drinks nippier than the proof would indicate, which I don't think is a barrel thing. I think it's, or even a fermentation thing. I think it's a distillation thing. I think there's something to do with the way they're distilling this, maybe, that's making it seem more boozy than it really is. In a way, it's a lighter mouthfeel. There's less oak showing up. But what's there is holding on longer. It's fresher. It's pushing back a little bit further into my mouth with more authority. Put it that way. In terms of character, there's some overstewed sweet tea, banana peel, toasted street corn, elote, toasted elote. Same mix of honey from the nose. Dried cherry, black pepper on the finish, woodiness on the finish. But I don't think this is that old. It's certainly not. We're not pushing up into 8, 10, anything like that. But for the age, it's asserting itself well. There's some citrusy elements in this. Orange zest again, maybe that orange candy thing again. And those flowers, it's not as prominent on the palate as it is on the nose, but there is a floral thing going on in these Foresters that is very interesting. And the heat, the nippiness, it's bothering me more than I thought it would. I don't know if I didn't pick this up in the bar when I tried this, but this is it actually feels, in some ways it feels like, you know, something around 60% alcohol, but in some ways it actually feels stronger than that. Let me give this one more shot and then I'll add some water. Nice. It's less oaky than the 1910, but it has more balance and more, yeah, let's say authority in the mouth. And I do like it more, so let's give that a presumptive mark. And we're going to move on to Heaven Hill. First of all, Larceny. I've never tried the Larceny Barrel Proof. Again, I didn't know it existed. This particular one is the A120. Now there's a code to these. The last 2 digits are the year it came out. The first digit is the month it came out of that year. And then the letter is basically what sequence of releases that year this was. So this was January 20, and I guess the first release of that year of this particular bourbon. Larceny, of course, it uses the Old Forester mash bill. 68% corn, 20% wheat, and 12% malted barley. So more wheat in this than you get in a lot of wheaters. You know, Weller comes to mind. More wheat than that. And I've always had a soft spot for this mash bill and the Old Foresters in particular. Now this one is only 6 to 8 years old. They mentioned that in the back. Let's give this a shot. See what it's got on the nose. Oh wait, sorry. Quick interruption. I did not add water to the Forester 1920, so I'm going to do that now. 2, 3. See if 3 is enough. Now I'm going to give it one more squirt. 4. That should do it. All right, sorry. Back to the Larceny. There's something going on in that. Oh, what is that? There's a sour character to this. What the heck is that? Okay, let's get the obvious things out of the way. Baklava. This smells absolutely like artisan baklava. There's some frosted shredded wheat in here. A lot of white pepper. Different honeys again. Like orange blossom honey or something like that. It smells more desserty, but then there's something, you know, for the most part. There's, you know, brown sugar, vanilla, dried cherry. But there's something in this that reminds me of, oh, this is going to bug me. Sorry. Won't be a second. I'm just puzzling this out. What the hell is that note? Okay, actually, this is also throwing a few flowers. Not as much as the Forester, but it's there. No banana, though. Actually, it's more like dried leaves, like fall leaves, than it is flowers. There's some like crushed nutshells in this. So take a bunch of nutshells and just like crunch them down. Oh, I think I know what this is. I think I know what that is. There is an Amontillado note in this. Not the cask. Don't think like sherry cask Scotch. Think like the sherry. Like very old, like single vineyard Amontillado, the good stuff. There's like a sour, almost winey industrial character in the back of this. And it's really interesting, and it's kind of winning me over. I've never gotten this on the Old Fitzgerald blend before, but it's kind of there. Yeah, Amontillado. I'm gonna call it that. So oxidative, oak-aged white wine. You know, that's fascinating. There's also a little bit of creme brulee, which I would be remiss not to mention, and a scoop of vanilla ice cream. Very fun nose, a very accessible nose, despite the that weird kind of thing coming from the Amontillado note. And it smells very Heaven Hill. I'm not getting any kind of minty herbaceous notes, which is what I look for with wheaters, but you know what? Carry on. That's fine. Good. Extremely good. Oh man, this is actually already. I'm gonna go back and give them, but at the moment, this is kind of leaving the old Foresters in the dust a little bit. It feels like it might be a hair bit older than the previous two. Yeah, the kind of okay. So it's a mix of. What's getting me is that mix of almost like sour corn, toasted sour corn, elote, or almost like, you know, burned cream corn with that kind of almost, you know, Amontillado note. And then you're getting, as before, frosted shredded wheat, baklava, a lot of baklava, toasted nutshells, cherry, vanilla ice cream, black pepper, cinnamon stick, cream of wheat again. Well, and what's impressive about this is kind of the development into the finish. It's more, you know, I was talking a little bit about authority in the mouth with the 1920. This has still more. It sort of arrives with kind of these very honey notes, some leaves in there too. Almost a mix of like dried fall leaves, but also some like tea leaves thrown in there, some black tea leaves. So these fruity honey notes in the front, transitioning back into a very serious oaky, grippy hug with, you know, lots of tannins and pepper and goodness. It's a very classical bourbon development. And it works very well. Despite the fact that this is a higher proof than the Old Forester 1920, it actually drinks a little bit softer. It doesn't feel as, I mean, I can tell it's strong, but it doesn't feel as hot even at this proof. This is good. I like this. it's not profound, but it doesn't remind me a lot of some of the great old Fitzgeralds I've tried in the past. But you know what? I'm into this. I'm going to add some squirts of water, and we'll come back to it. That's 4, I think. A little more. That should do it. Well, I'll check just one last time. Why not? Close enough. And the reason why you would add water to things like this, it's not necessarily because you want to drink them that way. Although I do prefer things proof down a little bit sometimes. It's just to see how they react. Because some things will react very, very well to water. And sometimes some things will react very, very badly to water. Some things won't, a lot of things won't do anything. But it's the way something reacts to water tells you something about the character of the spirit, which is why I do it. Right. Last up on the menu is the Elijah Craig Barrel Proof. This is C920. So this is released 2020 in September, and it was the 3rd release of the year. And this is bottled at a very, very strong 132.5%. I am seeing an age statement of 12 years on this, so it is probably the oldest thing here. And it has got the standard Heaven Hill mash bill of 78% corn, 10% rye, and 12% malted barley, by far the least rye and the most corn of any of the mash bills here. On the nose with the what is this again? The C920. Musty. It smells a little musty, but in a fun way. It's musty, intermingled with intense oaky notes, brown sugar, mix of honeys, clover honey, orange blossom honey, a little honeydew honey, like heavier, more sour honey. Some graininess, like some burned toast, along with cream of wheat that, again, you kind of left in the pan for too long. A lot of nuttiness, so we're talking like, not nuts, but like nutshells, burned nutshells, some like burned leaves, burned fall leaves, caraway, cinnamon toast crunch. A lot of like layered cherry notes coming through now. Dried cherry along with kirsch, along with some cherry pie. It's very, 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 very woody, which you would expect from a corn-heavy 12-year-old bourbon. And some, it's a pepperiness, but it's not black pepper or white pepper. This is more like something more serious than that. Like a, yeah, I'm gonna go with almost a jalapeno note. Not fresh. These are dried jalapenos, but still. I mean, it smells. I haven't tried the palate yet. I'm a little scared of the palate given the strength. This smells like what the bourbon taters are after. Layers and layers and layers and layers of oak, like oak dust, cooperage. I'm smelling, oak sawdust on this. And way in the back, there's a reasonably characterful distillate with some like rye. Yeah, again, we're talking caraway seeded rye bread. And oh, what is it? Yeah, like more elote, more just kind of toasted street corn. You maybe put some honey on there, for example. It's a nice nose. It's a very proper old bourbon nose. And on the palate of this, big. Big is the first word I would run to. Big and woody. This is almost a little bit unbalanced given the amount of wood here, but only a little bit. And that may resolve itself with water. So I'm getting barrel ash. I'm getting black pepper and the jalapeno thing all over the place. Nutshells, leaves, dried leaves, cinnamon stick. Cherry pie, dried cherry, more cinnamon stick, more black pepper, sweet tea, English breakfast tea. It's not subtle, this. Lots of different honeys again, and yeah, a little bit of a sour corn note, like that kind of creamed corn thing again, and burned rye bread, burned caraway driven, local rye bread. This might be too woody for me. Again, we'll see what happens when I add a little bit of water. That may kind of resolve things, but this is a little bit of a slog for me. I feel like I'm fighting this a little bit, but we're going to add some water and come back to it. The quality's there. This is very, very well made, and it's a good cask. But they may have left it in there a hair bit too long. This is reminding me a little bit of Elijah Craig's of yesteryear, which were just a little bit too tannic, too sappy. It broke my heart when they took off the age statement, but in some ways it did actually improve the whiskey a little bit. All right, well, let's see if this is enough. No, it needs still more water. I don't know, what are we up to now? 6 squirts? That's tamed the alcohol. It has not tamed the wood. I'm going to leave that for a second. Definitely the most potent and aggressive of the spirits here. So far, I'm not convinced it's the best, though. All right. Let me have some more water. Jesus. Let's go back through. Forster 1910, now with some water. Didn't need a whole lot. This is only 93 proof to begin with, but we shall see how it reacts. Again, went into 2 different fresh oak barrels, so we'll see what happens. Interesting. This is turned into kind of a dusty cream soda thing. So you're gonna you're gonna vat some birch beer into some old school cream soda, and then you're gonna walk out in like a desert or a place where there's just a lot of dirt flying around. You're gonna put your straw in and enjoy that. And that's kind of what I'm getting on the nose here. dusty cream soda. There's some vanilla, some old coffee grinds coming through now. Sweet tea again, and that banana note. Banana note is a little bit more subdued than it was neat, but the floral elements have kind of faded on this. It smells very heavy on the wood without being able to sort of identify particular notes, and that's a tricky thing with very woody things, is you can smell the wood, but you can't really put a word to it. It just smells woody. It smells very heavily woody. And there are particular notes attached to that, but it goes beyond that. Oh, and the burned oatmeal thing, that's still there too. Actually, it's still pretty dominant. On the palate, ooh. So this is one I would not add water to. And don't tell me that I drowned this, because I haven't. The thing still remains, core integrity is still intact with this. But this is a hard one to understand. So it's very, very woody. Again, we're talking cinnamon sticks, some cardamom, some clove in there, vanilla, cherry element, mix of different cherry elements, the burned oatmeal thing. But at the same time, it feels like thin and fragile. It doesn't stick around in my mouth. And that was a problem before, but now it's adding water has actually accentuated that a little bit. It has brought out so the banana peel is still very present on the palate. It has brought out the orangey elements, the kind of orange zesty thing, a little bit more, which I appreciate. But yeah, it doesn't hold on very long. It doesn't go push very far back in my mouth at all. And it's just, it makes a big initial impression of lots and lots of wood, and I can't really follow through on it. It's a hard one to judge. And I guess that kind of makes sense given what they've done to this, because they've aged it for however long they've aged it in a charred oak barrel, and then they finished it in a charred oak barrel. So it's got to cut that effect of like a finish almost being present but very surface. But the finish is the same thing as what it was first aged in. So you have the impression of a lot of oak up front, with something younger and less substantive underneath that. Kind of mystifying. Not bad by any means, but also not my favorite. I'm going to give this 82 points out of 100. An interesting effort from Forester, but they can do better. And I think they probably have done better with this 1920 here. All right, so let's move on to the OF 1920. Now with some water. Honey and banana peel and kind of nutshells and like sweet corn for days. And that's kind of cinnamon toast crunchy note too. This is also not very young, but it's actually less of a problem than the 1910 because it feels more coherent, if that makes sense. Still noses a little bit hot, but not much of a problem. It doesn't develop a ton from initially, but that's okay. That just you know it hasn't kind of gotten more fragile like the 1910 has. It's kind of held its ground against the water, and that's good. Ooh, the creme brulee has also come forward. The kind of the sweetie desserty notes, the creme brulee and the vanilla ice cream on the palate. Let me try that again. With water, it actually comes together a little bit more. It doesn't drink. I know there's less alcohol now, but it actually drinks a little bit less hot with water. There's still a little bit of alcohol heat, which is kind of manifesting as a Scotch bonnet pepper sort of note. Wow. But overall, this, aside from the dead giveaway banana peel note, this is coming across like a very classical, youngish kind of bourbon. Street corn, a little bit of cherry note, kirsch. Cinnamon toast crunch, that banana peel thing, various honeys. A nice bit of tea tannins on the finish with some pepper. There's not a lot of it. It's not a huge, monumental finish that attacks your whole mouth like the Elijah Craig is. But it's nice. It's young. It's fresh. It does the bourbon thing very nicely, and I appreciate that. What do I score this? Can I get up to an 84 with this? I'm going to do it. 84 points out of 100 for the Old Forester 1920. Good. This is a great little sipper, and it feels very versatile too. So if you can get over the banana note, which is kind of it's gonna show up in your mixed drinks. It's gonna show up in everything. But if you're kind of into that, if you're kind of willing to accept that, this is extremely versatile. You can grab a bottle and just have it be various presentations of it, neat or mixed or with water or whatever, as a little bit of a house bourbon. It's not. It feels like it's built to be versatile like that. Nice, good stuff. Moving on to the Larceny Barrel Proof, whatever the hell is A120. Now with some water. The nose is actually receded a little bit. It's gotten kind of quieter. Burned cream corn, the frosted shredded wheat thing. That kind of sour corn meets Amontillado thing. Almost like you marinated some sour corn in sherry. The nuttiness, that's still there. And some white pepper. Not a huge the nose is actually receded a little bit. It's still there. I can tell, but it hasn't really developed in any case. Ooh, and now I'm finally starting to get a little dustiness and a little bit of mintiness. Mintiness, along with the frosted shredded wheat thing, is kind of one of my dead giveaways for wheated bourbon. It's kind of finally starting to show up like a little bit of a light. It's not fresh mint. This is mint that's been in your herb cabinet, in the Walmart container, the Great Value, mint container for a couple of years, but it's still there. It's still there and showing up. Not a bad nose, not a developed nose either, but good nose. On the palate, let me try that one more time. It just kind of turns into bourbon on the palate with water. Hold on. I know using bourbon as a tasting note for bourbon is probably an illegal move in tasting notes, but that's kind of what I'm getting. Very Heaven Hill. It feels more Heaven Hill now. More leaves, more honey, more nutshells. The weeder elements, the frosted shredded wheat, and that little minty thing. The minty thing is pretty much not here on the palate, and the frosted shredded wheat has kind of receded a little bit. Those weedy elements have kind of moved to the background to make room for more kind of oaky stuff. I gotta say, without water, this was clearly beating the 1920. With water, now I'm not so sure. All those little details that I was having fun with on the palate when it was neat, they kind of fade a little bit. I'm not really getting that kind of sour corn Amontillado note I was getting before, which makes me a little bit sad. It's still a very nice bourbon. It has a longer and more substantive and more ashy and tannic finish than the 1920. That doesn't necessarily make it better. It's giving up a little bit of freshness to kind of get there. Let me go back and try the 1920 again, just to make sure. No, there is more weight to the Larceny, and I have to give it credit for that. But I also want to penalize a little bit. So let's say this is an 85 minus. 85 minus for the Larceny Barrel Proof A120. I like this, but and as humongous as it is drinking it at proof, I would drink this at proof. I think it shows better that way. Let me give this one more shot before I move on. Yeah, this was more fun at proof. I'd love to see an older version of this with slightly less active wood, like maybe lower down in the warehouse or something. Anyways, moving on to the Elijah Craig. Barrel proof, whatever this is, C920. Now with water. Also kind of recedes on the nose with the addition of water. It still smells just so woody, but we're definitely in a different league than the 1910. This is proper aging. There's layers and layers of wood going on. The vanilla, the cherry elements, the dried leaves, the sawdust, burned sawdust, the ash. A little oriental tobacco creeping through now. Sassafras soda kind of happening now. Becomes more desserty. The sort of more overt woody wood elements kind of move back, and as do the grainy elements. And they're still there, but it just feels more like desserty, for lack of a better word. Which is okay. Still feels humongously oaky, but maybe the water has settled that down. We'll see. You know what? You know what? This is probably going to win this. What I said, I was hoping the water was going to tone this down, and I meant it. But what I neglected to mention was that I expected that not to happen. I expected the oak to actually come out and like claw at my face once I added some water to this, and that really hasn't happened on the palate. Oh, yes. With water, this kind of comes beautifully into focus. So it's not a profound effort by any means. I mean, I had a Jack Daniel's barrel proof that blew my mind a little while ago, and this is not in that league. This is not, playing ball with that, but this is still a very good bourbon, classically made, and I enjoy it. So what are we getting here? Let's talk about the finish. The finish has kind of, I hate to say smoothed itself out because I hate to use the word smooth with bourbon, but that's basically what's happened. It's kind of figured itself out. It's not as aggressive now. The wood is still there. It's still a very drying finish. Tea leaves, black pepper, ash, but despite the aggression and the seriousness of that finish, it's not out of balance. It's not sort of, it's even easy in a certain way. The rest of this is just very classic Old Heaven Hill. I mean, if you've had some Old Heaven Hills, you know what this tastes like. Dried leaves, nutshells, honey. That's most of it. Vanilla, a little bit of cherry, but not too much. Cinnamon Toast Crunch, some cream of wheat. Sweet tea, that kind of thing. And that's it. That's about it. And it works. It really does work. So I will, to my surprise, I did not have this winning before we added water. But now this has kind of come ahead for me. This is just really well made. So I hate to pick the oldest and probably most expensive bourbon here to win it, but I probably am. So I'm going to give this 85 points. 85 plus, I'm sorry. 85 plus, I'm going to give credit for improving with water. Out of 100. And that's what we got here. So I was wrong. I was expecting the 1920 to win this and the Elijah Craig to just crash and burn with too much oak. But I was wrong. It sorted itself out and came from behind, and here we are. So 82 points for the 1910. It's an oddball. It's I don't know quite what to do with it. There's a lot of wood, and yet there's not substantive wood, if that makes sense. 1920, better, fresher, but more substantive. 84 out of 100. The Larceny, great neat. I still have a little bit left in this bottle, and I'm going to enjoy this neat, but not great with water. Kind of, dumbs down. I'm going to give you this an 85 minus, and the Elijah Craig with a come from behind victory with 85 plus. And that's what we got. Thanks, Bourbon Buddies, and I'll see you in the future. Cheers.